What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Elan's Matchup Maximizer, a podcast presented by Kevin Carlson, where I, Elan Dubrovsky, take a look at next week's NHL schedule, try to figure out which teams we should be targeting to maximize our chances of winning our head-to-head matchups, and of course, players from those teams. I'm looking at the week of March 9th to March 15th. For a lot of us, it's the last week of the regular season. This could be huge. This could be make or break, and the NHL has thrown us kind of a tricky week. Okay, it's not going to be a week where you can really do too much damage. Unfortunately, the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, those are very busy days. We've got 26 teams playing Tuesday, 28 Thursday, 28 Saturday. Likely you're already, if you set your roster for next week, benching some players on those busy days. So this is where you need to figure out if you're like fighting for the playoffs, maybe you need to drop some of those players you'd rather hold, but if they're not going to make it in your roster this week, there might be a guy you're sitting all three times. You can't hold them and then miss out on the playoffs. Of course, on the flip side, if you've locked in a playoff position, you've got to keep your eyes open for some tasty drops and take a look at the schedules for the following playoff weeks in order to maybe capitalize. But we're going to be focusing on trying to win next week's matchup on this episode. And yeah, there's only a couple teams really that have good schedules. The number one best schedule of the week goes to the Ottawa Senators, who avoid all the busy days except for Saturday. They go Monday at Vancouver, you can score some goals there. Wednesday versus Montreal, Saturday versus Anaheim, and then Sunday versus the San Jose Sharks. You're getting a Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday there. At least you can stream your guy for the Monday, Wednesday, reassess from there. I'm recording this, by the way, Saturday night. It's around 11:30 Eastern time. Unfortunately, the Sens are playing right now, so I'm not going to have final results for you, but they're in the second period. They're up 3-1 against the Seattle Kraken. Goals from Tyler Klevin, Dylan Cousins, and Shane Pinto. So, I mean, maybe you could have, who would have thought to maybe stream in a Shane Pinto because he's got a goal and an assist already today. Is that a sign of things to come? I mean, maybe. Pinto is at least someone that you're likely going to find available in your free agency in a lot of leagues. You look at the Ottawa free agents and who you're potentially going to be able to stream in. I'd imagine you're not going to be able to find Sanderson, Stützle, Tkachuk, Batherson, Cousins, Shabbat. After that, maybe some decent options, right? So like I just said, Shane Pinto has a goal and an assist today. The game's not even over yet. He also scored in the last game versus Calgary. Don't love the deployment for Pinto. He's been playing on the third line with Amadio and Nick Cousins, not seeing top power play. But, I mean, you know, beggars can't be choosers. There's not really any, like, this is one team that has 3 off-day games, and then I'm going to have for you 5 teams that have 2 off-day games, and then that's it. You're either finding teams with none or just 1 off-day game. So I think if you can get 3 off-day games from Shane Pinto, that's probably a good bet for you. I guess another person to target could be Claude Giroux, who's rostered in only 21% of Yahoo leagues. It's 20% for Pinto. Both of them free agents in my Kevin Carlson Ultimate Patron Fantasy League division for what it's worth. So I'd imagine they'll both be going tomorrow on Sunday or early Monday morning. Giroux has been ice cold, like totally cold, pointless in 6 games going into today. So far, nothing in this game versus Seattle, but hard to ignore the deployment for Claude Giroux, playing with Stützle and Batherson at even strength. And of course, the name, Claude Giroux. He's the player who we've seen have a lot of success in the past, even this year, even with this cold streak, still up to 39 points in 61 games. You would think with 3 off-day games, you should be able to expect a point or 2. I'm not sure what's going on with Giroux right now, but seems worth a shot. You know, depending on your other options, I would probably go Pinto, even though he has a worse line. Just seems like someone who's producing more recently. And I don't know, I just have kind of more faith in Pinto being a better player at this point in his career. He's been taking, even when Pinto was cold for a little bit, he still had a bunch of 4 and 3 shot games. So I'll say Pinto number 1, Giroux number 2, Ridley Gregg maybe out there for you. Greg's been playing on a line with Cousins and Tkachuk, so I love that deployment. If that holds, that's not too shabby. Greg had an assist in the last game against Calgary, nothing so far against Seattle. We'll see. So I think probably I would, though, have Greg third. So yeah, Pinto, Giroux, Greg, all potentially decent options for you if you want to stream someone from Ottawa. I guess a dark horse could be Warren Foegele, who they just acquired from the Kings. Foegele is playing today on the 4th line with Zetterlund and Eller, so that definitely doesn't inspire much confidence. Who knows if he moves up the lineup? I wouldn't bank on Foegele, but he's had some success over in LA. Like I mentioned, Tyler Klevin scored a goal. He's good for your hits and blocks, but in general, and not even for blocks actually lately. So I think you can stay away from Klevin. So that's the Ottawa Senators. Let's see who else you may want to target. Like I said, 5 teams who have 2 off-day games. We've got the Edmonton Oilers going Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Sunday. So maybe you're looking at a late week stream from the Oilers. At this point, it's getting hard to ignore Matt Savoy, who continues to produce. He had a run of 4 games in a row with at least a point, including a couple multi-point games. Finally went pointless in the 6-3 loss to Carolina. Going into that game, Savoy was playing on a line with Draisaitl and Roslovic, which is pretty good, though I'm seeing maybe the lines were shifted around throughout the game. So we'll have to watch GameDayTweets.com and see where Savoy lines up. Obviously, you're going to want him playing with either a McDavid or a Draisaitl to have a good chance to continue getting those points. If you can't get Savoy, I guess you've got Vasily Podkolzin, who scored a goal in the last game against Carolina, had a 4-game point streak a week back. When he's not getting points, you're still seeing 5 or 6 hits a game recently from Vasily Podkolzin. In that game, he was playing in the bottom 6 with Kapanen and Jason Dickinson for most of the game against Carolina. So maybe things will shift around. If not, hard to expect too much offense, but maybe you can get something from Podkolzin. I mean, Edmonton, we know how it goes. Like, you're not going to get access to anyone on the top power play, and that's where most of the damage is done. So I wouldn't be rushing to grab any of these Oilers. I think the lines could change after another struggle on Tuesday and Thursday. Who knows how things will look for Friday, Sunday, but someone to look at. Like the strategy for a week like next week, I really feel like if you have someone to bench, maybe you're looking at a goalie or a defense. You're trying to fill the spots that are open on your roster, and I've had some really bad luck this week with goalies. I might lose my matchup mainly because of 2 botched final ads. I went Nedeljkovic yesterday for a negative, went Merzlikins today for another negative. Just so brutal thinking of the points I could have gotten if I just went for a safer choice. Thought they were pretty good options for me. But anyways, maybe you'll do better next week. You can look at the teams playing on Monday, Tuesday, for example. Utah, like you can try to get another Vanacek good game. He got a shutout in the last game, which we haven't seen in so long. Can he do it again? I don't know. Calgary goes Monday, Tuesday. Devin Cooley's actually been pretty good. So, there's a few teams. You'll have to take a look at the schedules, or you could just wait and see and pounce on a good goalie that's available that gets a start. But clearly, no guarantees. You might end up hurting yourself more than you're helping yourself. So that's Edmonton. That's Ottawa. I guess at this point I can take a break. We're not going to have that much to go through today because, like I said, most of the teams have pretty basic schedules. But we still have 4 more teams that have 2 off-day games. So better than nothing. We'll be back in a sec. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is built for the fastest game on ice. With player props and live betting, every shift, every shot, every save gives you the options to get in on the game with DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm taking a look at the odds right now. I like looking at the awards. See the Norris odds there? It's basically Cale Makar and Zach Werenski, both the overwhelming favorites. Quinn Hughes is the next up. Pretty high odds. Quinn Hughes, I think, is pretty good. Maybe he has a shot. But hey, that's up for you to decide over at DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-897-777777 or visit ccpg.org on behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas. Wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright 2026. NHL. All rights reserved. So like I said, we still have 4 more teams that will give you 2 off-day games, which is what we're looking for here on a tough schedule on a week where we're mainly just having most players playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and maybe 1 extra game on the Sunday, or some teams will have only 3 games. Like you could have the Islanders, for example, Tuesday, then Friday, Saturday. So you're really going to grab an Islander player just for like that 1 Friday game. So I'm going to focus on the 3 and 2. I gave you Ottawa, who has the 3 off-day games. We've got, like I said, we went to Edmonton, and now we've got 4 more to go. So let's go to the Washington Capitals next, who are on a bit of a cold streak. They've lost 3 in a row, haven't been scoring too many goals. As a Tom Wilson manager, I've definitely noticed. You're not going to be able to find Tom Wilson in free agency, but maybe you can find someone today. They lost 3-1 to Boston. Protas scored a goal from Chychrun and Ryan Leonard. Protas is probably not available to you. Chychrun definitely not available to you. Ryan Leonard... he's probably available to you. He had an assist today. Like I said, he scored a goal in the previous game. Leonard is now only 10% rostered on Yahoo. And if you look at the lines from the last game, it was McMichael, Sourdif, and Leonard. I guess we call that the third line. Wilson, Dubois, Protas was a line. So somehow Leonard assisted on that Protas goal. And then we have Strome, Beauvillier, and Ovechkin. So just from looking at those lines, you would think like an Anthony Beauvillier is in a pretty good spot playing with Ovi. And yeah, he did have a 2-assist game a couple games ago against Montreal, but in general, not looking too great. Hard to really recommend Beauvillier. Did I give the Washington schedule, by the way? Monday, Wednesday, then Thursday, Saturday. So you can do the Monday, Wednesday from Washington, then switch to someone from Edmonton. The question is just who are we going to grab from Washington? Like I said, they haven't been scoring a lot of goals lately. In general, you want the guy playing with Ovi, though this is, 40-year-old Ovi. Ryan Leonard, by the way, has been on the top power play with Ovi, Strome, and Tom Wilson and Jacob Chychrun. So I think that probably Ryan Leonard is the most interesting, regardless of his even strength line. It seems like someone that's available in a lot of leagues that you'll be able to get something out of. Connor McMichael is playing on this line with Sordif and Ryan Leonard. I thought maybe with Nick Dowd traded, McMichael could get a good spot in the roster. But look, at this point, he's pointless in 5 games since the break. I don't know really how we can recommend Connor McMichael at this point. Really, you just want someone on the top power play, I think, at this point. Or maybe like a Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's 38% rostered. He's been hot and cold since coming back from his injury. A couple of really awesome games, a couple quiet games, did absolutely nothing today. A cardio session versus Boston. But if Dubois gets dropped, I think, for a Monday, Wednesday, I would definitely go with him. So give me Dubois first, then Ryan Leonard, and then, I don't know, good luck, right? Rasmus Sandin, I'll throw it out there. He had an assist in the game against Utah and 2 assists against Vegas, but looks like he didn't even play today against Boston. So maybe I'll have to check the rosters. And I know that they just got Timothy Liljegren. Brian and I, by the way, will be doing a full mega show tomorrow where we'll look into all the trades and the fantasy impact. I don't know how much we'll talk about Timothy Liljegren, but I guess maybe he does affect the chances of Rasmus Sandin. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, Sandin had a couple good games for what it's worth. But really, it's not worth mentioning. Beauvillier, I guess, is someone that I would consider because he's playing on that top line. So give me Dubois, Leonard, maybe Beauvillier, McMichael would be the bottom of that list. Sordif had that run for a little bit, but he's been really quiet lately. So I think we can forget about him. So sorry, I haven't really given you too many exciting options there on the Capitals. We can go next to the Philadelphia Flyers, who also go Monday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Saturday. Philly's usually a little bit more interesting, and they're coming off a 4-3 win against the Penguins today. They were without Travis Konechny yet again. Brian and I can look into that in more detail tomorrow, but the Lions without Konechny, they had, I guess, Cates, Michkov, Barkey was a line. Trevor Zegras was on a line with Grunstrom and Tippett. I guess Zegras and Dvorak have been separated. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the Philly lines for a while. Dvorak was with Alex Bump, who's just been called up and scored a goal for what it's worth, and Nikita Gribenkin. And then Sean Couturier, I guess you'd call that the 4th line with Glendening and Garnet Hathaway. Oh man, who are we going to recommend here? I mean, you're probably going to have some options, right? Like Trevor Zegras and Travis Konechny are probably the only for sure rostered guys in pretty much every league, though even Trevor Zegras has been kind of cold lately. I'll get Brian's take on the mega show only. He had an assist today for what it's worth in that 4-3 win over Pittsburgh. Had a goal 4 games beforehand, but generally kind of quiet for Trevor Zegras. So depending on your other options, I'd probably hang on, but I guess it depends how deep your league is. But Zegras has definitely cooled off a little bit from that amazing run to start the year, now well below point per game on the season. But yeah, who's our next best option here? Noah Cates has been doing pretty well lately. He had an assist against Pittsburgh, and then also had a goal and assist a couple games ago against Toronto, an assist versus Boston. He was on a bit of a run here. We're looking at now 3, 4, 5, 6 points in his last 6 games. It's pretty good for Noah Cates. Like I said, Cates playing on a line with Michkov and Barkey. I guess you can look at a Matvei Michkov. I had him at one point in a couple division and dropped him. I don't know if I regret it too much yet, though. Point today, before that he was pointless in 3. So I guess, yeah, it's been pretty cool. But if you can get Michkov for a Monday, Wednesday, I definitely take a shot on that. But yeah, otherwise, I'm not really sure, honestly. Tippett might be available to you. I'm always kind of interested in Tippett, though his shots have been way down. So really, in general, just Philly, not too exciting. No big names here that I can just jump out and be for sure, grab this guy's on the top line, top power play. They were running 2 even power plays today. Zegras, Tippett, Michkov, Barkey, and Drysdale on one. Then Dvorak, Cates, Bump, Sanheim, York on the other one. I don't know. Denver, Barkey, like I said, had getting good deployment, scored a goal today. Maybe that's something. I know he's an up-and-coming prospect, but really, yeah, it's just not too much excitement here on Philly. So I really want to help you out, listeners, but I'm not sure. We have one more team left here that has 2 off-day games. No, 2 teams left. Okay, so maybe we'll find something here. Montreal Canadiens we can go to. They're playing Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday, Sunday. So you're going to be streaming for a Wednesday and a Sunday, so you can decide if you want to jump early or not. Montreal's changed up their lines for a long time. They were rolling with, Suzuki, Caulfield, and then Kirby Dach was there, and then Kapanen was centering Demidov and Slavkovsky. But in today's win against LA, and I think the game before also, Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slavkovsky reunited, which really is great for someone like a Slavkovsky who you're not going to find in free agency, and then not great for kind of anyone else, like especially, you look at an Oliver Kapanen who was being centered by or surrounded by Demidov and Slavkovsky, which is a pretty good spot. Now, obviously not as good if Kapanen is going to be on a line with Newhook and still Demidov, I guess. But yeah, a bit of a downgrade there. So I'm definitely less interested in Kapanen at this point. Demidov, for what it's worth, also has been pretty cold lately. I wonder if you're getting to a point where you need to consider dropping, though I guess with a good schedule week, that's a reason to hold on. Otherwise, maybe you'd be concerned. I don't know, like Newhook. Jeremy mentioned on the last show that Newhook was starting to do something. He had 3 games with points in a row, but since then, quiet in the last 2, and really there's no reason to be too excited about anything that Alex Newhook has been doing. Kirby Dach, Brian and I were interested in while he was on that top line with Suzuki and Caulfield. He did have an assist in this game today against LA, but overall, yeah, I've lost a lot of interest. And then you look at the top power play, you're looking at Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Demidov, Lane Hudson. So I think once again, as long as these lines hold, I'm not really seeing anyone especially worthwhile. I'm sorry. Like maybe if Matheson gets dropped, he gets a lot of minutes and has had a couple good games. Has also been really quiet lately, and also probably in a lot of leagues, Matheson is taken. Sorry, everybody. So looks like no dice there on Montreal. I'm starting to wonder if this is a podcast even worth releasing as we go to the St. Louis Blues, who are completely depleted since they've traded away Braden Shen and Justin Falk. But you know what? They still were able to pull off that win against my stream of Nedeljkovic and the San Jose Sharks yesterday. They barely took any shots, but they made it count, especially Robert Thomas, who scored 2 goals in that game. Thomas now has 6 points in 3 games since returning from his injury. He's been insane. Not that you can get him anywhere, so it doesn't really fit for this podcast, but I guess you can try to target people playing with Rob Thomas. Looks like he was playing with Holloway and Snuggerud in that last game against San Jose. So, yeah, Jimmy Snuggerud jumps out to me as like, I'll take a guy who got 1 goal and 1 assist against San Jose is playing with Rob Thomas at even strength and on the power play, at least in that last game. So I think Snuggerud might be our streamer of the week here. Did I give St. Louis a schedule? It's Tuesday, Thursday, and then Friday, Sunday. So similar to what I said about Edmonton, but maybe you just jump early on a Snuggerud to make sure to get those points. It's just a really good spot to be on a week where it's hard to find people to stream. Aside from Snuggerud, like who are you going to be able to add? Like, I mean, if you're in a super shallow league, you can get a Holloway or a Buchnevich, then sure. But looking at a more standard league, like generally, I would look at who's playing with Jordan Kyrou. But I don't know. Jake Neighbors has been with him lately. Neighbors has been like especially cold. Like maybe there's a chance Neighbors could do something. He also gets some power play time, but I don't see a reason right now to jump on Neighbors. Maybe like on Friday. If you see some signs of life on Tuesday or Thursday, then you jump on the Friday, Sunday. But yeah, I think Snuggerud or, of course, a Holloway or a Buchnevich are the guys that totally jump out. I guess then you look at defense, right? And you see that Cam Fowler is gone, so someone's going to get some opportunity. Logan Mailloux was on a round of goals in 2 straight games and taking some shots. Didn't do much against San Jose, though he did play 25 minutes, so that's pretty good. I think you're looking at a Mailloux or you're looking at a Broberg as the defenseman that could potentially benefit from Falk being out of the picture. Broberg has assists in 2 straight games, though I'm seeing that Mayu is the one that got more power play time in the game against San Jose, so I think you can go either way there. But if you need D, like especially if you could fit a D on the Tuesday or the Thursday, I'd kind of take a shot on either of them. Both of them played huge minutes. Actually, Broberg, I'm seeing played 32 and a half minutes. Is that right? Wow, against the Sharks. Only an assist and no hits or shots or blocks, so it's kind of like, what were you doing there? But you got a point. At least Mayu maybe seems to have more upside at this point for offense. I think you can really make an argument either way. But yeah, those are the Blues to target. I guess that's really it. I'm sorry. Like, I guess we can go the other way. There's a ton of teams, like I said, that are playing just Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Like, I could run through them, Boston, Buffalo. Like, I guess you can look at your own roster and see there's like 10 of them. So these are teams: Dallas, Detroit. Should I keep going? I don't know. New Jersey. New Jersey's the only team that actually only plays 2 times next week, but don't let that fool you. Like, there's no difference between New Jersey and like Columbus, who plays Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Like, it's just like if you're sitting the player, it doesn't really matter if their team is playing or not. So I think you really got to look at you really got to set your roster for next week, like I said, and see who is on your bench for potentially every single game they're playing, because there's no point holding someone like that unless it's a week where you don't necessarily need to win, in which case hold on and maybe even try to snag a good player who's dropped by another desperate team. So it's a lot of strategy going into the last week of the season, depending on your situation. Good luck, everybody. I'll be back with Brian tomorrow for the Mega Show, where we're going to talk about all the exciting trades from the trade deadline, some hot and cold streaks. I think it's going to be a long one because we're going to want to get everyone prepared for that last week of the season and start looking towards the fantasy playoffs. Thanks for listening, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.